So today, we're doing the 2013 AP Calculus AB free response question. We're doing the graph of f prime.
The figure above shows the graph of f prime, the derivative of a twice differentiable function on the closed interval of 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 8. The graph of f prime has horizontal tangent lines at x equals 1, x equals 3, and x equals 5. The areas of the regions between the graphs of f prime and the x-axis are labeled in the figure. The function f is defined for all real numbers and satisfies f of 8 is equal to 4.
Okay, so part A asks you to find all the values on x on the open interval 0 is less than x is less than 8, for which the function f has a local minimum, as well as justifying your answer. So as you look at the graph that I made, this is also the graph that is given. You can evaluate where the function changes from a negative to positive. Since it goes under there, under the line, that's negative. Above the line is positive because it's derivative. So, as this is a derivative graph, you are only seeing one change, and that's that x is equal to 6. So your answer is x equals 6 for part A, because the function goes from a negative to a positive. On the AP test, you will receive 1 point for an answer with justification. So x equals 6 because it goes from a negative to a positive. And that is 1 point.
So part B asks you to determine the absolute minimum value of f on the closed interval of 0 is less than x is less than 8, as well as justifying your answer. So to find this answer, you will need to test the endpoints and areas under the curves. The endpoints given are 0, 6, and 8. F of 8 is given as 4. You will need to write two integrals with this question. The first integral should look like f of 0 is equal to f of 8 minus the integral from 0 to 8 of f prime of x. For this equation, you have to move the 0 down to the bottom of the integral and add a subtraction sign in front of the integral. You will also take this equal to 4 minus 12, and this equals negative 8. Due to the fact that that 4 is given and 12 is part of the areas given. The second integral looks like f of 6 equals f of 8 minus the integral of f prime of x. You will then take 4 minus the areas of x equals 6. All of this proves that f of 8 is equal to 4. On the AP test, you will receive 1 point for considering x equals 0 and x equals 6, an additional point for the correct answer, and then another point for justification, which means your work.
Okay. So part C asks on what open intervals contained in 0 is less than x is less than 8 is the graph of f both concave down and increasing, in addition with an explaining your reasoning. So, as you look at the graph of f, you can see that it's concave down and increasing from 0 is less than x is less than 1, and 3 is less than x and less than 4. This is because the graph of f prime is decreasing and is positive on these intervals. On the AP test, you would receive 1 point for the answer and 1 point for the explanation. So, you can look back on the graph and see from 0 to 1, and from 3 to 4. I'm sorry, you cannot see, but 3 to 4. So the graph is concave down. And is increasing from 0 to 1, and then from 3 to 4, because f prime is decreasing and it is positive on these intervals. So there's 1 point for the answer and then 1 point for the explanation.
So part D states that the function g is defined by g of x is equal to f of x all to the third. If f of 3 is equal to negative 5/2, find the slope of the line tangent to the graph of g at x equals 3. So you should start with a given g function, g of x is equal to f of x all to the third. Then use the chain rule to find the g prime. So this will look like g prime of x is equal to 3 f of x squared times f prime of x. You can then plug in 3 for the x value, so your work looks like g prime of 3 is equal to 3 times f of 3 squared times f prime of 3.
And sorry, my F's kind of changed from the first video. Yes, this is an F. I know I did it like this before, but this is an F. I am sorry to the audience.
So then you can show that a simplified version of your answer equals g prime of 3 equals 3 times negative 5/2 squared times 4. This can all then be simplified to 75. On the AP test, you would receive 2 points for considering g prime of x and then receive 1 point for the correct answer.
Okay, we're going to go step by step to go through all of the points again. So, for part A, you get 1 point for justification. So for part B, then it's 1 for considering, 1 point for considering 0, x equals 0, and x equals 6. Then you get 1 point for the answer and 1 point for justification. Then, for part C, you get 1 point for answer, 1 point for explanation. And for part D, you get 2 points for g prime of x and then 1 for the answer. So part A, 1 point, part B, 3 points, part C, 2 points, and part D, 3 points, for a total of 9 points.